So maybe first we will begin with the formal reading of Ganden Lha Gyama, something like the oral transmission. So before, as we are all familiar, to set up the motivation. So for the sake of all Mother Ascension beings, in order to attain Buddhahood, enlightenment, then I will engage in this practice, in this Guru or Yoga. So with this motivation, then we will proceed. Ganden Lha Rāngā yuzu mīngi jīgī dāng kīwaru dōmbō sūng mī mī dēng chō nī nī gyōpa dābi sōsō rā shā. Yī mī dō dē mō dē dō nā dē chē kē pāng bē dēng chō dēng jī gōmbō kī kē lā bīn zā bā lā dā jā sāng bā dā bē yī rāng wā. Jī zui nā mā dāng bā kē nām kī chū kī khā dā kīn zē chīn dē nē jī dā rā sāng bē dō jī zī mā dā sā kē chū kē chā bā wā dō sū. Nām dā yī sī yī nī shīng bā yī sōng chū kō lā chā nū mī ngā yā tā mē nā gō sō gō rā bā nī sī dē bā dō mē dō tēng bā rā shū. 다게 신년 사회 교화 대 대단 조화 근나가 된다 개발지도 노산 잡아에 때문에 님보진도 세시쇼 이메제 대신 제제제 제메긴 배원보 참배양 대보만도 점수 상된다 간제기 배수원 정가보 노산도를 잡아서 와데 여러분도 교화송어 배 대주 신용무소 세배도 기왕가 배 남산디 니데 이제 자면 도바 만조로지스 이제 자면 도바 만조로지. So this completes the formal reading transmission of Ganden Lha Gyama. And I think you all have this booklet, and with the English and also with the Chinese translation and English translation. So first, the first verse, inviting the merit field. So in this case, then Je Rinpoche and with his two spiritual sons, Gyasab and Kyudub. From where? Then from Ganden, Tushita, land of joy, and from this land, this is one particular land within Ganden called Yiga Chunze. So this is like the pure land of the future Buddha Maitreya. So, and then from the heart of the protector, which is Buddha Maitreya, the protector of 100 deities of Tushita, and then visualizing this cloud, right? this huge mass of cloud, and together with two smaller heaps, and then in the middle, then to visualize on this throne, Je Rinpoche, and then on the two sides, then Gelug and Kidub. And then it is said that at this point, then on the three Je Rinpoche together with the two spiritual sons all sitting on this on the three, something like the three cushions. So then this is referring to Peme Den, which is the lotus cushion, then Mime Den, which is the sun disk, and then Dave Den, the moon disk. And these three, the lotus cushion, and then the sun disk and the moon disk, they symbolize the three principal parts: Nianzhong, Changsen, Yangdavedawa, renunciation, bodhicitta, and insight, right? But in this order, then with the three dens, then I think the correct order is first the lotus is signifying renunciation, and then Pemeden, Nimeden, and then the sun disk signifying the view, right? Emptiness, and then the moon disk symbolizing bodhicitta, conventional bodhicitta. So then to invite Je Rinpoche together with the two heart disciples. You can also visualize just these three, or also together with these three, then surrounded by Lama Yedam Sangye Chansen Bawo Kandro Chujong, right? So with accompanied by various teachers, right? Gurus and deities, and then Buddhas, of course, in the form of Nirmanakaya, and then deities meaning Buddhas in the form of Sambhogakaya, Mamayadam Sangye, and then Bodhisattvas, and then Praditya Buddhas, and Shavaka, right? Shavaka, and then also the heroes, the Dakas and Dakinis, right? And then also something like what we call the Dharma protectors. So like this, to invite them. So this is according to you. If visualizing just the principal guru and the two heart disciples, that's fine as well. And so this, not to visualize them very high, but just at eye level. Yeah. So like this. And then once having invited this merit field, and then beginning with what we call the 7 branch or the 7 limbs, right? The 7 limbs. So here we beginning first with making the request, to live long. So this is the first limb here. Usually, it will come later, right? But here it is put in this order because in order for Chanzevada, Chujin Shabada, in order to make these 7 limbs offerings such as making offerings, and then prostrations, and then so forth. The merit field needs to abide for a long time. So therefore, then this order is somehow is what's the word? It's not in the usual order, but beginning first, the 7 limbs, beginning with making the request to live long. Ling number independent. Jizul Lama Gebe Zungar Jen. Aulo Tebe Sonam Shinjoto, Temba Gejir Shuso Suyus. So here, then it's quite clear. This maybe venerable gurus with your white smiles of delight. I don't know about this term. How is it in the Chinese translation? Do you also have this white smile? Maybe not. Is there this white smile part in the Chinese translation as well? Because this seems like a very literal translation of the Tibetan text, word by word. Do you have this in the Chinese translation? Not so literal, right? Okay. So the point is very clear. So Je Rinpoche is smiling, right? This is the point, right? To not visualize Je Rinpoche as being somewhat aloof, It's not like that. So at this point, then many of our teachers say, because, for example, in one day, I have more negative thoughts, and the way I behave, the way I think, then how is it possible that my guru would look at me and smile? Actually, he should be quite upset, with my behavior, right? But since now we are engaging in this practice, in this Guru Yoga, then just by the mere act of sort of our turning our minds towards the Dharma, then this pleases the conventional guru, right? So this is something like that. Seated on lion thrones. So lion thrones, I think 8 lions, right? Supported by 8 lions. And this has a significance, what we called, there is one category of 8 qualities of the Buddha. So this is signifying that. Lotus and moon in the space before me, please remain for hundreds of years. Okay. Aulo Tebe Sonam Shinjoto, Temba Gejir Shuso Souls. So this is considered very important. I'm not sure whether this practice exists in the Theravadan tradition. This I'm not sure. Whether there is the 7 limbs practice in the Theravadan tradition, and if there is such a term as the 7 limbs in the Theravadan tradition, then would requesting the guru to live long as possible be one of those limbs, right? So this I'm not sure, but I heard from someone saying, what is the point of making this prayer? And this person, I think, had some Theravadan background. So I was at that time, then I thought maybe in the Theravadan tradition, then there doesn't exist this practice, or at least it's not considered part of one's practice, making this request. This is one thing. And then, we have this story, after Buddha Shakyamuni passed away, then his close attendant, Ananda, was reprimanded by Nyandwe Chenpo Yesung. Nyandwe Chenpo Yesung. Can you help me with the Sanskrit term? Yesung. He was like the throne holder after the great teacher Buddha passed away. Then who was the one?
Kashyapa.
Oh, Kashyapa. Thank you. Kashyapa. Yes. Nyandwe Chenpo Yesung. Yes. Kashyapa then reprimanded Ananda and something like the allegation. Ananda's crime was something called like the 8 faults. The 8 faults, so he was accused of the 8 faults, and then he was reprimanded. As a result. He was kind of kicked out from the Sangha. And this was very skillful on the part of the great Kashyapa, because during the time of the Buddha, the great teacher, the Buddha, Ananda was one of the few who were present in almost all of Buddha's sermons, in all of Buddha's teachings. So he had a very good memory, and he knew many of the Buddha's teachings and also the Buddha's interactions. Because if you look at Buddha's teachings, it is not like how these days we have commentaries, how it's almost like the author sits there and then ponders and then, looks at different commentaries and then writes a text. It's not like that. As we just, for example, in the Heart Sutra, many of it is like conversations with his disciples. And then sometimes he's not even like part of the conversation, right? The disciples themselves are having this conversation, but he's nevertheless present in all these conversations, right? So we say his disciples, for example, Shariputra and Avalokiteshvara Chenrezig are having this discussion by the Buddha's power or by his blessings. They are having this conversation, this Dharma, something like Dharma exchange, So therefore many such exchanges are taking place. And Ananda was always present during that time. And plus he had this very good retention of all those events, and also not all the events, but also knew, he could recall exactly each of the subjects, what were discussed, and the particular words and everything he knew. But the problem was that somehow maybe it was also his arrogance, because he was very close. And wasn't he also related? Yes, he was a relative, right? He was closely related to the Buddha. And so for those reasons, he had somehow this strong arrogance. And because of this arrogance, then he was not able to yet renounce. He was not able to renounce this arrogance, these desires, right? So he was very skillful on the part of Kashyapa, because Kashyapa knew that if he did this, if he with these different, these allegations, and then if he was kicked out of the Sangha, then this would somehow, it will be like a wake-up call for Ananda. So after he was expelled, then Ananda became very sad. He was thinking like with almost like the high status that he had, when the Buddha was alive, but now the Buddha was no more, and then now this person who has taken over as something like the Buddha's throne, if you will, or somehow he thought he wasn't on the good pages of that person, and now he got expelled from the Sangha, and this really brought much sorrow in him. And somehow with all this kind of in this sorrowful state, then he recalled the Buddha's teachings, and then his mind was, and then he understood, he understood the Buddha's teachings, he understood all those contexts, and through this he was able to generate renunciation, and as a result of that, then soon afterwards, because he had all those something like the theoretical knowledge, plus now he had renunciation, and he directed all his theoretical knowledge to liberation, and through this he attained arhathood, something like that. So this is a wonderful story. So what was the connection? Yes, the 8 faults, which he was, this allegation was the eight faults. And one of these 8 faults was that he didn't request the Buddha to live long. Because if he had made that request, then the Buddha would have lived for much longer. But because he didn't make this request, then so he was reprimanded for that, right? So we say that it is very important to request the Lama to live long. It's also something like auspicious, auspicious to make this request. So this is the one of the 7 limbs. Now the second one is Chansewa dance, right? Chansewa. Chansewa is making prostrations. Yes, making prostrations. Shiji Kungun Jebu Loju Tu. Yesan Nawe Genjur Leshe Sung. Tabe Bege Lamer Zebe Gu. Tongdu Temba Tenden Lha Gyama says. So making prostrations, and not just making prostrations thinking nothing. If we make some prostrations, this Buddha or this Lama, this Je Rinpoche is so high, is such a high guru, then I should prostrate. If you do it like this, then it's not so useful. It's not so useful. Also, it's kind of, I think, silly if you make a prostration just because someone is sitting on a high throne. Because now Je Rinpoche is sitting on this beautiful throne, supported by the 8 snow lions or lions, right? So if you were to simply prostrate because he is sitting on this magnificent throne, then what's the point, right? So here, the point is you think about the qualities of Je Rinpoche, right? So what are his qualities? The qualities beginning with his mind qualities, his mental qualities, and then his verbal qualities, and then his physical qualities, right? Sheje Kungu Jewe Lodu Tus. So the mind that sees something like the sphere of phenomena, the mind that sees, that realizes the sphere of phenomena. Sheje Kungu Jewe Lodu Tus. And then the verbal qualities is such that whatever his utterance, his teachings, Je Rinpoche's treatises, and so forth, they are something like ornaments of the fortunate ones, right? They are ornaments of the fortunate ones' ears, which means basically that when the fortunate ones hear Je Rinpoche's teachings, then this is something like it is beautiful, right? It ornaments. It is like an ornament, right? Is a nawe kenju deshe sung tabe belge famir zeve ku. Your beautiful bodies placed with the glory of renown. So again, this is okay. But here, the main thing is really, I think, the quality of the mind, the mental quality of the guru. Because, okay, if the guru has a very good body, that's very good. But then, you know what's the point? You know, it's like, what's the point, right? Or if the guru doesn't have a very beautiful body, okay, no problem, right? But if the guru doesn't have a good mind, then yes, big problem, yeah? So the main thing is the mental qualities of the teacher. So the mental qualities of Je Rinpoche, Sheji Kyungyun Jewe Lodru Toks, yeah? So the full extent of phenomena, objects of knowledge, Sheji Kyungyun Jewe Lodru Toks. So here, I think maybe we can say it like this. When we say knowing all phenomena, you know, the Buddha is said to know all phenomena. The omniscient mind, it's omniscient, it knows everything, right? So what is the meaning of that? I think it should be understood as something like the omniscient mind knowing all phenomena. What that means is when the mind, in a single instance, when the mind is able to apprehend, to realize both the two truths instantaneously, then this is what is known as all-knowing. Yeah, this is, I think, what is known as all-knowing. Yeah, when the mind, yeah, when it realizes the two truths simultaneously. Yeah, so there's simultaneously, it's not easy. During the stages, you know, before the result, on the stages of the path, before the results, it is possible to realize the two truths, but one needs to alternate between these two mental states, right? But when one is able, with just one instant, right? In an instant, when one's primordial knowledge realizes both these two aspects of phenomena, yeah, conventional and ultimate truth, then this is, I think, how we should understand all-knowing means, you know, as all-knowing. This is how we, how maybe this is one way of understanding all-knowing. Shiji Kyungyun Jewe Lodru Tools. Why do I say this? Because I think if we just say all-knowing, take a very literal explanation, that if we just have a very literal understanding, okay, that's very good. But somehow I feel that we are sort of missing the point, right? Because we should, when it comes to knowing, and then especially like when we go to the highest level of knowledge, primordial knowledge, then it should be in relation to the two truths, you know, not in terms of having lots of numbers, you know, and countless, not to think like that. Of course, it is possible that the omniscient mind knows countless objects, but at least our understanding of all-knowing mind should be from the viewpoint of the fact that it, right, the primordial knowledge of the enlightened mind, it knows the two aspects of phenomena simultaneously. La Shartse. Then, you won't train, not so me do dang, Tishim do, not say Tishap so. When sham you do, Chudin Jaso di, Sonum Shinjo Kela, Chobam Bush. So this, making this offerings, then now it's something very like conventional, in our something like according to our social norms, because we have to keep in mind that making these water offerings, various flowers, fragrant incense, light, and scented water, we have to be again mindful of the fact that because this tradition it stems mainly from the Indian tradition, So in ancient India, there was this system that when you invited a guest, especially a very important one, then you would first, when we do the Agam Padim, you would first wash the feet because the person had to probably travel for a few days and quite dusty and taking all those things into account, then first beginning, washing of the feet and so forth. So then the water offerings and then the various flowers, fragrant incense and so forth. This was done. So in light of that, then I think we have this system and somehow we have never changed that. Of course, there's no need to change that, right? Even though this is not how we treat our guests, first with water offerings and throwing flowers and then putting incense like this. The Indians, they still do this. It's really beautiful, They light the incense and then they make these like circles near your face, right? And then the light offerings and scented water. So this is very good. The point is that it's to treat, the important one according to something like the social norms that one lives in, So the point here is to really give something like the utmost care, This is the point, right? So how do we like to be what does that entail in our society when you say give someone something like the 5-star treatment, So you can apply that basically to Je Rinpoche here, I don't know, maybe something with a red carpet, something like that, So whatever you find very good, you can of course do that, no problem, as long as it helps you, to make that connection, as long as it helps in really treating the Lama with the highest respect. So making these offerings like this, 강시 토면되는 사바이 농아이기 미게 지게다. 개발 돈버숨기 미든주 닝니 개발 답이 소소 샤스. Now it's the limb of what is it? Confession? No, is that the English term used here? Confession. Okay. Do you have any other words besides confession? Synonyms? Confession. I think we are all good on that. Regrets. Yes, regrets. Yes, regrets is a very important part of this confession. Yes, it's very good. Yes. So confessing the three vows. So, Sodar, Changsim, Sangha, the three vows, right? Sodar, Changsim, Sangha. So, Sodar is Pratimoksha vows. Changsim is the Bodhisattva vows, Changsim Tomba, and then Sangha Tomba, and then Tantric vows, right? I confess individually. Oh, yes. Thank you. That is true. I was thinking something like a synonym for confession, a synonym. Yeah. It's hard because I'm so used to this term confession, right? Confession. Then we have sojong, the is it the fortnight? Every 2 weeks, the sangha have to do this what we call sojong. Sojong. It's also translated into English as confession. I was just wondering, like, if there are other synonyms, for confession. But it's not important. Yes. It's just one of my detours, distractions. Yes. So anyhow, did you find a synonym?
Google says,
Uh-huh.
according to Google,
Uh-huh.
it's first admission, then owning up, acknowledgement. Yes, so these are the main three. And then they go into 41 different versions of confessions.
Oh, I think 3 is good for me.
So,
I think 3. Repentance. Yes.
I think admission is your
Admission.
and you think that you did something wrong. That probably, for instance,
Oh.
and need to something to do.
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Oh, it's very helpful. Admission. Yes, this is true. Admitting. Shakwa. Yes. Yeah, but I guess why admission was not used is that then admission could also be like no admission. You know what I mean, right? It could have a different meaning. Whereas confession, it's maybe more closely related. So since that's like the only word that's why it's used. But also in Christianity, I think confession is the word, right? And then you also mentioned repentance, right? Repentance. I think that's also used as well. Yeah. Okay, so Shapa, confession. 이제 토미한테서 뭐예요? 해볼때 무슨 의미인지 야. So for this, then, as you all know, in the Lamrim, talking about what was it? The 4 opponent powers? The 4 opponent powers. So the 4 opponent powers are the power of reliance, right? So this would be refuge and bodhicitta, is it?
Right.
No, I meant for the opponent power of reliance, yeah, Tengitop, a power of reliance. Within that, there are two, right? Refuge and is it bodhicitta?
Yes, Rinpoche.
Yes.
Kyamdo dan Sengkye.
Oh, okay. I was like, but no one is speaking. I was like, Am I hearing voices? Oh, thank you. Thank you. Iji jamzula, tujina. Yes. Yes. And how does it go? When as transgressions, as far as transgressions are concerned, one makes transgressions in relation to either sentient beings or Buddhas, right? And if in relation to sentient beings, one has made transgressions, then the power of reliance is bodhicitta. And if the transgression was committed in relation to the Buddhas, then the power of reliance is refuge, right? So like this, I think. And then it gives this this example that just as a person who falls on the ground has to get up using the ground, as something like a support, right? So something like this, ting top, right? The power of reliance. And then the second one is the power of
Remorse.
a power of remorse. Yes. Regret or regret. Remorse or regret. Yes. Thank you. And then the third?
Sunjinbedo.
Oh,
Sunjinbedo. Power of destruction.
Sunjinbedo. Isn't there also a Nyabalelar Tobetop?
Yes, that's the fourth one.
And then Nyambokin de Chobetop. Yes.
That one is Sunjinbedo. Sunjinbedo is actually more like
it's the second one. Yes. Yes. I think Sunjibetop. So this is the power of Sunjiba.
Destruction.
Of antidote. Yes. Yes. No, wait a minute. Is it antidote or what? Because I think what's happening here is that we have the 4 opponent powers, and each has a specific term. And then when you say like, okay, regret is the third one or the second one or something. But if you say the power of remorse, then we are mixing up the terms. This is where the problem is coming. So each of the 4 opponent powers, there are actual different terms. And then there is something like, okay, what is that term? Oh, then one is remorse. And then one is, like regret and remorse. And then the other one is, what is the word? Not committing.
Restraint.
Yes. Yes. Restraint. Thank you. So I'm just trying to get this clear in my head, right? With the 4 terms of the 4 opponent powers, right? So first is Tengitop. Tengitop is the power of reliance. So power of reliance, the first one. And then the second one, I think, is number Sunjimbetop. Which is remorse. In essence, it is remorse. So remorse is, what is remorse? Remorse is the power of what? Yes, this is what I was asking for. Because it wouldn't make much sense to say remorse is the power of remorse, right? That makes no sense. So So remorse is
the power of acknowledging that something bad happened because of yourself.
what you're saying is very true, but I'm now trying to think of like the specific terms in the Lamrim. Do you have the Lamrim?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Can we have the 4 terms? The 4 powers.
Remorse.
But there's two ways of arranging this.
Okay, then it's my mistake. The first power, remorse. The second power, applying antidotes. The third power, turning away from faults. The fourth power, reliance. Okay. Then my mistake, sorry. Okay. So the first power, remorse, and then the second power,
Then you also
Applying antidote.
applying antidote. But we all know that there are different orders of this so-called 4 opponent powers. So that is not such a big issue.
Turning away from thoughts.
Turning away from faults.
And
Reliance is the 4th. Applying antidotes. Okay. Okay. So then by applying these 4, then to confess, right? To confess the any negativities, negative acts, I think, negative actions. Okay, thank you. Thank you. And then is what is it? Rejoicing, right? Rejoicing, right? Yeah. So this is rejoicing. How does it go here? In this time of degeneration, you studied extensively and strove to practice. And by abandoning the 8 concerns, your life of freedom and endowment became meaningful. From the depths of my heart, I rejoice, O Protector, in the great waves of your deeds. So this is, I saw a few times, on YouTube, I think last year and also this year, His Holiness in some of his teachings, and at one time also, I think some dialogues with non-Buddhists was, His Holiness quoted some parts of this verse, especially this one. Studied extensively and strove to practice these 2 parts, right? Mangtu and Dublatsun. So Mangtu is Mangburteba, to hear extensively, right? To study extensively, and Dublatsun, striving to practice. In this time of degeneration, where we have more afflictions, we have more discriminative thoughts, where something like we have, I think, something more like it also mentions Phenigma, right? The degenerated life or life force. I don't know how to use the exact term, but I think it can also be understood that in these days, somehow we also have more sickness, more different types of sickness. which are in essence shortening our lifespan, right? Lifespan. So we can also think like this. Anyhow, in this degenerated times, you have studied extensively and strove to practice, and by abandoning the 8 concerns, right, then your life of freedom and endowment became meaningful from the depths of my heart, then to rejoice to Je Rinpoche like this. And then also to rejoice in our fellow human beings as well, right? We can apply also like this. The 8 concerns, the 8 worldly dharmas. What are the 8 worldly dharmas? Can you help with that? The 8 worldly dharmas.
Hope for happiness and fear of suffering. Hope for pain and fear of
Oh, this is fine. Now, excuse me?
Grace and criticism.
Oh, yes. Yes.
Gain.
Mm. Yes, thank you. Thank you. And then happiness and suffering, something like this, maybe. Very good. So these 8 worldly dharmas, if we think about this, it's really very interesting. You know, it's very interesting how we think along these 8, right? Along this 8, we have to think how much do we align ourselves with these 8 worldly concerns, right? So this is a serious issue. The 8 concerns, the 8 worldly dharmas. The 8 concerns is what is really blocking us, you know, what is really blocking us from this transformation, you know, what is blocking the transformation to take place. It is what is blocking us on the path. It is the big block, you know. So really, these 8 concerns, it's not something, I don't care about the 8 concerns. I don't even want to think about it. I want to instead think about bodhicitta, or I want to think instead on emptiness, on shunyata, you know, on the profound. So if we overlook this part, you know, if we do not think where we stand on in relation to the 8 concerns, if we overlook that, then and then whatever we try to achieve on the other side of these 8 concerns, then okay, it's good that we're trying to make some efforts, but this transformation will not take place as long as we haven't really solved our issues with these 8, right? The 8 worldly dharmas. So very important, you know, very important.
Fame and disrepute.
That's right. Thank you. Yes. Fame and disrepute. Yes. Thank you. Yeah. So it's, I think, also very practical, you know, very practical. The Buddha's teachings it really comes down to that, right? How to handle the 8 concerns, how to handle it, how to deal with the 8 concerns. Just we have to learn how to deal with it, you know. Sometimes we don't know how to deal with it. It's too powerful. It's too we are overcome, right? We are overcome with these 8 concerns. It's overpowering, right? Overpowering. So to learn how to deal with these 8, I think this is really one thing you can take from these verses from Ganden Lha Gyama. 8 concerns. Abandoning the 8 concerns. Gombo kyugi labjen zeban la daja samba tabi hirang moj. Yeah, so this is rejoicing. Dene Jezun lama damba kenamgi chugyu kala kenzi tintik ne chedar sambi duje zeman la sabgi chugi chaba topdo söz. What is it? May a rain of profound and extensive Dharma fall from the billowing clouds of wisdom and compassion, gathered in the sky of your Dharma body, Venerable Holy Guru, to care for disciples in any way appropriate. Which limb is this? Where are we? Can you help? Which limb? The previous verse was on rejoice, and now we are on which verse?
Requesting to turn the Dharma wheel.
Requesting to turn the Dharma.
Yes, I guess. Yes. But just by reading this text, it's hard to come to that point. It's hard to, I guess, it doesn't click right away, huh? Because in all this poetry, I guess, maybe in all this poetry, the rain of profound and extensive Dharma fall. Somehow I wasn't able to link that to making the request to turn the wheel of Dharma.
It is summarized and gathered in the sky of your Dharma body. So this billowing rain of clouds of rain comes from the sky that is you, the omniscient, that is you, and you are giving us this rain of blessing. The moment that comes down just like rain.
Oh,
The soil.
yes, yes, you're right. Chugyu kala kinzi tintingi chidara sambe duje zimando sabge chugi charba opto suls. Saba is profound, Yeva is extensive. Dharma fall. To care for disciples in any way appropriate. So this is, I think, very important, to care for disciples in any way appropriate. So this, it shows, I think, the skillful means of our teachers. Because it doesn't matter if the teacher is like a Buddha but lacks skillful means, then how do we receive? How do we benefit? How would the teacher then benefit us? Right? So in any way appropriate. So this is, well, very important, very important. Okay. Now with the next verse, Nam Dao Yu Si Yin Li Xian Ba Yi, Zong Chogtul La Chan Nu Ming A Yang, Tan Nian Nang Wo Zo Gu Ra Ni, Si Die Pa Do Min Nu Tian Par Shows. So this verse is added. It was added later, right? Because this is essentially also making this request to live long, right? It's also that, right? But this was already right after the inviting the guru. Then the second verse was that, right? Wasn't the second verse? Wasn't the verse after that making the request to live long, right? It was. So this was again added later. And this verse was added by Purjo Ngawang Champa, a very famous Lama, Purjo Ngawang Champa. So this, I saw this commentary by Chönden Rinpoche, and Rinpoche mentioned that this verse was added by Purjo Ngawang Champa. And Chönden Rinpoche's commentary, in turn, is a commentary of Gyabji Pabongka's commentary of Ganden Lha Gyama. So like that, generally, this Ganden Lha Gyama, the authorship is somehow a little funny. The authorship. Usually, most people say, Dinaba Banden Sambo, was the author of Ganden Lha Gyama, Dinaba Banden Sambo. But Agu Sherab Jazo, the famous Agu Sherab Jazo, then says that this was composed by one other Juchen. Was it Kuncho Yampe or Kuncho Jamso? I'm not sure. But he says it's not Dinaba Banden Sambo, right? And then when you look at the lineage prayers, then Ganden Lha Gyama, the lineage, it begins with Manchushri, and then to Je Rinpoche, and then to Kidubje, and then to I think his brother Asuchugi Gensen, and then maybe also Jizun Sherab Singye as well. So like that. So it seems there was this tradition of giving this Guru Yoga, maybe not in a very public setting, but only in a very private setting, A Lama would only then give these instructions, to maybe one principal, one hard disciple, or something like that, a very close disciple. And then later, then I think this Juchen, which Agu Sherab Jazo mentions as the one who puts into this book form, was the one who then made it, I think, something like public, for the masses. So like this. And then, so at this point, then one may make mandala offering, making mandala offering, extensive mandala offering, like that. And then with the actual Migtsema verse. Migtsema Tejin Jeresi Timeki me Wambo Jambeya. Dubondu Jumze Samenta. Kanjin Kebe Zugen Tsongkhapa Lobsang Drakpa so there's. So here, great treasury of objectless compassion. This refers to the compassion, great compassion that is very much accompanied by the correct view, So this is referring to that. And then embodiment of stainless wisdom, Manjushri, destroyer of all dark forces, Vajrapani. So these three family or lineage lords, right? Riksum Gombos. So Rik is lineage. So Avalokiteshvara, Manjushri, and Vajrapani. So when you say this, what is the word? Kriya. Chaju. The first of the 4 Tantra sets, the first one is Kriya Tantra, right? Kriya Tantra, right? And then within that, then there are these 3 lineages, right? Of Tathagata family, and then Lotus family, and then Vajra family. So these 3, they are the lords of these 3 lineages. So they are called Riksum Gombo. And here it mentions they represent compassion, objectless compassion, stainless wisdom, and the power. Is it power? Vajrapani is the personification of Buddha's power, is it? Or capacity? Power. Right. 2 tops, power. Okay. At this point, then to visualize these 3, at Manjushri, at the crown of Je Tsongkhapa, then to make him a Wambo Jambeya. No, sorry. Migtsema Tejin Jeresi, Jeresi at the crown, and to make him a Wambo Jambeya at the neck, at the heart, right? And then visualizing that these light rays, from all 3, Rinpoche and the 2 disciples, and then something like hollow, something like pipes with hollow, right? Hollow, and then inside within this light rays, then with nectar, then entering from the crown, and then filling your whole body, filling your whole being, which then washes away like unpurified mental state, mental obscurations, like that, and also sickness, illness, and so forth. You may visualize like this, and then you're filled with this all like positive, all positive attributes, right? So to visualize like this. So this is like a very simple visualization. Here, not going into Anuttara Yoga Tantra practice. So without that, then there was also no generating as the deity at the beginning and so forth. So all of that is omitted. I saw this one commentary by Yongzi Ishikenze or Kachin Ishikenze, and this was, it seemed, only from the Sutric, only just a sutra from the sutra side, So it's very short and concise and somewhat easy, easier to practice with. Whereas if you go with this more extensive commentaries, especially in the Anuttara Yoga Tantra tradition, then there are many meditation points that one has to do, right? And at this point, even though it mentions that, for example, if one were to generate the different types of wisdoms, then it mentions of these different visualizations that one can do. But I think a simple way to do it here is, again, doing this same visualization with the light rays emitting from the three gurus and then entering into oneself from the crown, and then feeling one's whole being, and then as a result, one is then somehow like blessed with these different kind of wisdoms, right? So you can do this very simple visualization, and I think this is okay to do it like that. Okay, so here are the wisdoms. So there are 4 wisdoms, right? Great wisdom, and then is it clear? Yes, clear wisdom, swift wisdom, and it says here, deep wisdom. But I think profound wisdom somehow sounds better. Okay, so 4 wisdoms. So great wisdom. Okay, so now if I may quote from Je Rinpoche's prayer for birth in Sukhavati, realm of bliss. So this is a quotation. Furthermore, in every life, may I develop that great wisdom that self-reliantly and unaided is able to separate right from wrong. Right? So this is great wisdom. The wisdom that self-reliantly and unaided is able to separate right from wrong, which is able to separate right from wrong is the great wisdom. Then may I develop the clear wisdom that unerringly separates to the subtlest degree deluded states of mind from paths of purification and freedom. So this is clear wisdom, which separates to the subtlest degree, deluded states of mind from paths of purification and freedom. Okay? And then the swift wisdom is, may I develop the swift wisdom that holds the power to counter, as soon as they appear, all doubts, fallacious views, and incomprehension. Swift wisdom, which has the power to counter all doubts, fallacious views, and incomprehension, as soon as they appear, right? Right here, right now. And then the profound wisdom, okay, or deep wisdom, as it is translated here. May I develop the deep wisdom that penetrates, unopposed, the meanings of scripture unfathomable to others. So, profound wisdom, which is the wisdom that penetrates, unopposed, the meanings of scripture unfathomable to others. So like this, then with that visualization, what we call Duzi Bebjang. This is a very, something like, that's a visualization you will see in all these, in all the 4 Tantra sets. And also, I think in some sutras, I think you also see this visualization, right? Duzi Bebjang. So Duzi is nectar. That is something like, Jang is to purify. So purification through rains of nectar. Something like that, okay? We just use like that. So this is a very good, very simple, and I think somehow easy to visualize. You know, we can easy to visualize and effective and easy to apply in many different situations. This is very, very good. The 4 types of wisdoms. So so you can visualize something like as this nectar fills your entire being, then it washes away the obscurations to each of these 4 wisdoms, and in turn, then you gain, you know, these 4 wisdoms. So like that. Now that you have invited these lamas, after making this dedication, what do you do with them? Do you just leave them and then you go out? You stand up and then you go out? Or do you say, do you look at the watch? Maybe, I think so here maybe, I don't know, the talks of different, usually they are different in relation to tantric practices, tantric deities, you know, you're very familiar, so perhaps to maybe invite them. How about inviting, once you've done this now, to somehow dissolve them into this light, maybe like a blue light, and then the blue light enters you and then resides at your heart. Are we okay with that? I think that's okay. And then making the dedication by the 4th kiss. 새롭 균도 개와 종갑에 대조 신용무수 제베 투 개외마베 람상 대니리 이직 참면 도바 만주르지. So, and then to make the to make dedication. So to dedicate this practice, and then so that we never turn away for even a second from the pure path, highly admired by the victorious ones. Like this. Translated by Ola Zarbani. And in the Chinese translation, is there I don't see any reference, like who translated this? Do you know? Okay. And in the Chinese translation, do we have a verse number 8. Although there is no appearing in disappearing for the body of union. Do we have that verse?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Rinpoche.
Because this verse, some other monasteries, even like, where we are, I've noticed some other monasteries, they omit this verse. They omit this verse. Number 8, the one that talks about the union, that verse is omitted. Yeah. So then this, I think, is, it was because it was later then added by Purjong, just as Ganden Rinpoche mentions in his commentary to Kebje Pabongka's commentary. So, Mhm.
He elaborates on the Migtsema. This is so. Dr. Yip is asking about when you elaborated on Migtsema, Avalokiteshvara, having white is on the crown, and Manjushri is at the throat, and Vajrapani is at the heart.
Mhm.
So why?
And also what color?
The color, I'm not sure, but I would, my first guess is Avalokiteshvara in white, Manjushri in orange, and Vajrapani in dark blue. Yeah. So in a way, you're right. It corresponds with Om Ahum, that color. Even though Manjushri is not purely red, but still there is, we say in Tibetan, Marser. So that's orange, right? So Mavo and Sevo, both red and, yeah. So orange is red-ish, maybe. Red-ish. Yes. Yeah. Oh, I think there was just one part of the question. What was the first part?
I just added something.
Yeah, he added one. Yeah, I didn't ask why is it Avalokiteshvara at the crown and
Oh, why? Okay.
Oh, actually I didn't ask that, but since he asked, I think maybe we can get some answers.
Okay, so the question was, why Avalokiteshvara at the crown, why Manjushri at the neck, and why Vajrapani at the heart?
Rinpoche.
I think, let us see. Oh,
Rinpoche.
if I'm not, yes? Yes, sorry.
Deshiku Kemisung Dojitu, Dizi Riksung Gombodus, Jenimento Sangyu.
Yes, I was about to say that. Yes. So as we were talking about the Riksum, right? Riksum Gombo. So in that order, when we have these three lineages, the highest is considered Manjushri. No. Highest is considered the Tathagata lineage, right? And then it is the Lotus lineage, and then the Vajra lineage, right? And our Lokiteshvara is the Lord of the Tathagata family, and Manjushri is the Lord of the Padma family, yeah, Lotus family, and Vajrapani is the Lord of the Vajra family. So it is in this hierarchy. And also Venerable Lishi Jamso, who is helping translate me, helping translate me, right? Was just saying that. So it's almost like we were in sync. Yeah.
Monsieur dit, Monsieur dit, Genesis di Pemi Rigrawa, Kaisna de Ula, Pamiki, or Rika, the Togura. Ani picture di Jambeyang di Dejisha bring back Mendro Sangi.
Oh, Dejisha Combo Rege.
No,
Rege. Yawa Maliki Yapjur chance. Oh, then I made a mistake. Yawa Maliki Yapjur chance. Yes. Manjushri is the Lord of the Tathagata family. That's why we say Gyawa Malukeve Yabjurjang. All Buddhas of the three times, the father, Manjushri is like their father, right? Meaning that they all became Buddhas through Manjushri. Yeah, through Manjushri's power, through the wisdom, right? So then, what I said previously, we have to delete it. Yes.
No.
Oh, the explanation is wrong, but then.
Yes. I got I put them in the different families. Yes.
Monsieur Yang di Jambe Gu, Pemi Sung, Roger Puz, si so ju de. Ani peche de Jambe Yang di Shartse di Jawa, di Shizuki Kolo di Shine Badam.
Oh.
Ani Jimbala, Pemi Jigwa, Pemi Sung, Ani Yang Padom Mabu, Pemi Jigba, Sunshine, Ani di Genesis, Papa Genesis di Dumbe Kolo di Shartse. Ani Tura, Ningi Kolo di Shuki Kolo di Samwe Dapu, Budo Mumbo, the Shibi Doji. No.
Oh, okay. So then Manjushri is at where?
The crown.
At the crown. Okay, Manjushri at the crown. Our Lokiteshvara at the throat, and then Vajrapani
at the heart.
At the
heart.
At the heart. Okay. Not only did I manage to get the family all messed up, all wrong, but also the placement wrong as well. This is not jet lag. Sorry. This is my ignorance, not jet lag. I think I better ask my translator. So then what is the color of our Lokiteshvara? I think it's white.
It is white in color.
Yeah. And then Manjushri is orange.
Yeah, orange.
Yeah, okay. And Vajrapani is
blue. Dark blue.
Okay, I think the color. I got just 1 point, just with the colors. But the placement and the family fail. Yeah. And then any other questions?
Rinpoche, you just mentioned that all Buddhas must be Manjushri. Yes, all Buddhas must be Manjushri before they can become Buddhas. Therefore, the Manjushri is of the Tathagata family.
All Buddhas are, we say, Manjushri is the one who helps, guides all Bodhisattvas to Buddhahood, right? So he's like the father of all. In that way, he's like the father of all Buddhas, because he's the one who guides all Bodhisattvas into Buddhahood.
Yes, but how do you then balance that with the need for prajna paramita and compassion? So without, we are always taught wisdom alone is not quite enough. Compassion itself is definitely not enough.
Mm-hmm.
And it takes the combination of both.
True.
So, and then through that, the realization of emptiness as taught in Prajna Paramita. And so, why would we specifically put Manjushri in the Tathagata family and not all else?
A reasoning, my previous reasoning was to the question why Manjushri is the lord of the Tathagata family, right? Because he is the one who guides all Bodhisattvas to Buddhahood, right? Now, and then the follow-up was, if that is the case, then how about Panchaparamita and also great compassion? For they are equally indispensable in one's becoming a Buddha. Was that the question? Okay. I think, yes, you're right. Just as one needs to rely on stainless wisdom to become a Buddha, likewise, one also relies on great compassion, unconditional compassion to become a Buddha. That is true. But then, for example, Genrisic, the personification of the Buddha's compassion, is not explained to be the something like the father of all Buddhas, as Manjushri is explained to be, right? So what's the difference there, right? Then I think maybe it's from this viewpoint that even though both the method and the wisdom aspect are both equally indispensable for one's becoming a Buddha, for attaining Buddhahood, the difference lies that it is actually the wisdom aspect that actually that directly overcomes the obscuration that that blocks, that is between the person and in the way of Buddhahood. So the obscuration that is in the way to Buddhahood, the actual direct antidote is the wisdom. Even though that wisdom is very much conjoined with the method aspect, nevertheless, it is the wisdom aspect that is the direct opponent of this. So this is something like my theory, and I'm just waiting for that theory to fail any minute. You have some questions? Yes?
Thank you, Rinpoche, for your great teachings. I have a question on, please correct me if I'm wrong. Je Tsongkhapa's master once asked Je Tsongkhapa, there are so many sadhanas to practice. What is the best way to practice everyone because they don't have enough time to practice everyone. And I think Je Tsongkhapa replied that you can actually do the Guru Yoga or in terms of the Ganden Lha Gyama, and this to be combined into one. So maybe, I'm not sure if this is the question of a higher yoga tantra, but maybe Rinpoche can share with us how we can combine the different sadhanas that we have to do, all the initiations that we have over the years, and how do we combine to one Guru Yoga practice?
This is a very good question. So, when we combine this, then we have to add this and add more things, right? So here at the point of Migtsema, then putting in the Lamrim points, for example, and then if we combine this with highest yoga tantra practice, then in the preliminary, then first generating oneself as, I think, Vajra Bhairava, since this is very much connected with Je Rinpoche and then Manjushri, so naturally generating oneself as Vajra Bhairava, and then blessing the offerings before making the offerings and so forth. So if one is able to do this in such a way, then this becomes very similar to like a Vajra Bhairava sadhana or Uya Samaja sadhana, because you are adding all those features from those sadhanas and combining them here with Je Rinpoche and Manjushri, and in this, for example, then also the rightful aspect of Manjushri, right? So then it's not only Guru Yoga, but then it is Guru Deity Yoga, right? Combining Guru Yoga and Deity Yoga. So I think like this. But for this, then simply just having this part is not enough. Then you need to combine and then add all these different parts from the sadhana and then put them. And then so this becomes like a more extensive practice, right? And how to put these things and like this, then the extensive commentaries of Ganden Lha Gyama, then if you follow it like this, then it specifies how to integrate these other points from the sadhanas with this practice. Yeah.
Any other questions?
One more question.
Yeah. Yeah.
Rinpoche, you were saying yesterday that what we want to attain with all the sutras and the tantra is to achieve the relative and ultimate bodhicitta. Can you just explain a little bit more the difference between the two? Because I was trying to read up and I don't quite get a very good answer about relative and ultimate bodhicitta. Can I just be very greedy to ask one more question? You mentioned yesterday about the substantial cost, and also I found out there's another one called cooperating cost.
Yes.
Cooperating cost. So can you just elaborate? Because when I read, it's a bit confusing. Like one of them, the one that I read was actually the I body, illusory body. They say like the wind is the substantial cause of the illusory body, and then the clear mind is the cooperating cause.
Yes.
Then when I was reading the book by Rinpoche, then there's one about, they use another term, extensive cause. Wisdom is the extensive cause of the Dharma body, and the cooperating cause is the bodhicitta. Yes. That's why I get a bit confused between these terms. It seems to be a bit different, no?
Yes.
Yeah. So this I just want to clarify. I happen to just read it like today.
So this maybe I think it's also from the sutra point of view, then something like the wisdom, is the substantial cause, and then many of the methods, many of the accumulation of merit, that would not be the substantial cause for Buddhahood, but it will be the cooperating cause for Buddhahood. Those are conditions. Somehow they are conditions for one's becoming a Buddha. But then in highest Yoga Tantra, then I think that is not the case. If I'm not wrong, then both the method and the wisdom can be the substantial cause for Buddhahood, whereas in the Sutrayana, then the method aspects such as accumulation of merit and so forth are only conditions for one becoming a Buddha. There was one part, and then you said
relative outside.
okay. But relative bodhicitta or conventional bodhicitta is how generally is wishing to attain Buddhahood for the sake of all sentient beings. So this is like relative bodhicitta, right? And then ultimate bodhicitta is then having this like a direct realization, direct experience of emptiness, with supported by, of course, conventional bodhicitta. That would be ultimate bodhicitta. So just some words, just some words. Anyhow, I think we are now approaching our time. So this kind of completes our program for today, one program, and I think some of you will be leaving. So then just before we close this, then it is very important to dedicate, whatever positive actions we may have, that we may have, what is the word? Accumulated, created, generated, whatever positive actions we may have generated, then to dedicate this towards all sentient beings' welfare, for their well-being, This is one. And then to, of course, just as we begin with, I think the second verse, was it? The second verse? Then to request, to dedicate this to the long life of all our gurus. And then, of course, long life of His Holiness, and of all the gurus, teachers of the various traditions, and all these enlightened beings in whatever form may they are, to dedicate for their long life, and then may they remain with us and then continue to benefit others. So please dedicate for that. And for today's mandala, again, I think it's only one verse, right? Yes,
Yeah,
we make a
that's-
very short.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's Thanksgiving mandala.
Also, maybe no need for chanting. Maybe just slowly. Yeah, from there. And then dedication as normal. Yes.
Slowly.